Imagine turning nearly worthless paper into $24 million. Sounds like magic, right? But it's not. It's a scam. Welcome to the world of the Iraqi dinar scam, a grand illusion spun by a group of cunning men. These men are not your average con artists. They're master storytellers, weaving tales of war heroism and promise of immense wealth. Their hook, an opportunity to profit from the nearly worthless Iraqi dinar. Their bait, a narrative so compelling, it lured in the unsuspecting, the hopeful and the greedy. At the heart of this scam was the BH Group, a firm that sold dreams of riches built on the fragile foundation of an unstable currency. The group's proposition was simple yet dangerous. They promised that profits were nearly guaranteed if investors bought dinars at their current value, and then exchanged them back for dollars at a later date when the dinar exchange rate would supposedly improve. This was a promise built on speculation and nothing more. The BH Group, however, didn't just sell the dinar. They sold it with a hefty 20% markup, a detail conveniently buried beneath their enticing pitch. But the deception didn't stop there. Some of the scammers even boasted of false military achievements, adding an extra layer of credibility to their already persuasive narrative. The scam was a masterclass in manipulation, exploiting the vulnerabilities of those searching for a quick route to wealth. The scammers painted a picture of a golden opportunity, a chance to turn nearly worthless paper into millions. They sold a dream, a fantasy that was too good to be true. But as the old adage goes, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. The victims of this scam found out the hard way, handing over nearly $24 million to the con men for the promise of a fortune they thought would materialize. In the end, they were not selling a dream of riches, they were selling deceit and false hope. Promises of wealth often blind people to the truth. The Iraqi dinar scam was no different. In the heart of this grand deception, the scammers spun an alluring tale of riches just within reach. They managed to convince their unsuspecting victims that the nearly worthless Iraqi dinar was a ticket to immense wealth. The plot was simple yet clever. Buy dinars at their current value, and then exchange them back for dollars at a later date, when the dinar's exchange rate would presumably improve. The promise of astronomical returns was irresistible. Investors were told that the profits were practically guaranteed. The suggestion was that the dinar, currently grossly undervalued, was poised for a dramatic increase in value. The scammers painted a picture of a future where the dinar would skyrocket, and those who had the foresight to invest early would reap the rewards. The scammers had a knack for storytelling, and they used it to their advantage. They didn't just sell a currency, they sold a dream. And to make their story more compelling, they embellished it with tales of heroic military achievements. These false claims of valor and bravery added an air of credibility and trustworthiness to their pitch. They used these fabricated stories to prey on the emotions of their victims, to make them believe in the legitimacy of their operation. The firm, known as the BH Group, was the platform through which the scammers operated. They sold the currency with an average markup of 20%, a fact that was conveniently left out of the sales pitch. The victims, blinded by the allure of unimaginable wealth, handed over their hard-earned money, unaware of the grand deception they were falling for. The scammers played a dangerous game, one where they manipulated trust, hope, and the insatiable human greed. They exploited the desire for quick and easy wealth, and in the process, they left a trail of shattered dreams and empty bank accounts. They played with trust, they played with hope, and they played with the greed that can sometimes consume us all. Every scam has an expiration date, the day when the truth comes out and the illusion shatters. And so it did for the grand Iraqi dinar scam. The unraveling of this elaborate scheme began when inconsistencies started to surface. The promised profits were nowhere in sight, and some investors began to question the legitimacy of their investment. They started digging deeper, and the more they dug, the more the truth began to surface. The federal officials, like bloodhounds on a scent, picked up on these irregularities. They began investigating the BH Group and the men behind it. They discovered a tangled web of lies, deceit, and fabricated war hero tales. The currency, which was supposed to make these investors rich, was nearly worthless. The 20% markup on average that the BH Group had been charging was nothing more than a part of their greedy plot. As the truth emerged, the shock and disillusionment hit the investors hard. The dream of quick riches was shattered, replaced by the harsh reality of their losses. They had handed over nearly $24 million to the con men, all for the promise of a golden future that turned out to be a mirage. The pain of the victims was palpable. They'd been lured by a well-spun tale, by the promise of a profitable investment. They'd trusted these men, believed in their stories, invested their hard-earned money, and all they were left with was nearly worthless paper. The realization was bitter, the disappointment profound. They'd been taken for a ride, their dreams of wealth and prosperity crushed under the weight of a cruel scam. The fallout was severe, but the truth was finally out. The scam had unraveled, the illusion shattered. The men behind it were exposed for who they truly were, not war heroes, not financial geniuses, but simple con men. And just like that, millions of dollars turned back into nearly worthless paper. The fallout of a scam is never just financial, it's emotional, it's psychological. Imagine the crushing weight of realizing that you've been duped, that your dreams of financial security have been shattered by a cruel hoax. It's an experience that the victims of the $24 million Iraqi dinar scam know all too well. In the aftermath of the scam, the financial impact was significant. Millions of hard-earned dollars were lost, investments evaporated into thin air. But the costs were not just monetary. The emotional toll was equally, if not more, devastating. The victims were left with a sense of betrayal, a loss of trust that extended beyond the con men who orchestrated the scam. It seeped into their relationships, their confidence in their judgment, their faith in the system. The aftermath was littered with broken trust and shattered dreams. Psychologically, the trauma was immense. The victims had to grapple with feelings of shame, regret, and self-blame. They questioned their own intelligence, their ability to make sound decisions. The psychological scars ran deep, a constant reminder of their ordeal. But beyond the personal impact, the scam also had wider societal implications. It served as a stark reminder of the dark side of greed, of the lengths some people will go to exploit others for their own gain. It highlighted the vulnerability of individuals in the face of sophisticated scams and the need for greater vigilance and consumer education. In many ways, the aftermath of the scam was a period of reckoning. It was a time for the victims to pick up the pieces, to rebuild their lives and their trust. It was a time for society to reflect on the perils of greed and the need for greater protection against financial scams. The scars of a scam run deep, and they often last longer than the memory of the scam itself. The victims of the Iraqi dinar scam will carry those scars with them, a potent reminder of the price of trust misplaced and dreams betrayed. Every story, even a scam, has a lesson, and the lesson here is one of caution and vigilance. Let's take a step back and reflect on the story we've just unraveled. A group of individuals constructed a complex web of lies, deceit, and false promises, all centered around the nearly worthless Iraqi dinar. They played on the hopes and dreams of those looking for a quick path to wealth, charging a hefty 20% markup as they sold their false narrative. But what was the result? Nearly $24 million were handed over by hopeful investors, only to be left with a currency that held no promise of the riches they'd been assured. And why? Because they were blinded by the allure of quick wealth. They failed to do their due diligence and were caught in the snare of a well-orchestrated scam. So what can we learn from this? The importance of vigilance and due diligence cannot be overstated. Before parting with your hard-earned money, always do your homework. Research the investment, understand the risks, and most importantly, question the promises being made. If they sound too good to be true, they probably are. And let's not forget the power of information. In today's digital age, knowledge is at our fingertips. Use it, educate yourself. The more informed you are, the less likely you are to fall victim to such schemes. But perhaps the most crucial lesson here is that there are no shortcuts to wealth. It takes time, effort, and often a good deal of patience. Don't let the promise of quick riches blind you to the potential risks and pitfalls. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Stay vigilant.